Hey everybody, I'm Bob Bakert with Jazz Guitar Today, and the gentleman that's with me is none other than Pasquale Grasso, the toast of New York City at this point. I'm telling you. It's like,
Uh, that's one way to put it.
well, I saw you did a gig at Smalls just like last night or the night before.
Oh yeah, Measure. I was playing Measure.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. And then let me for some reason my computer wants to mess up. Um So anyway, let me just make sure that all of these emails are just like gone. I want to quit email. I think we're gonna be okay.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. I'm gonna put to do not disturb so people don't disturb.
yeah. So anyway, I was
Yeah.
watching. I
Are
was
we live on YouTube or something or the?
YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello everyone.
Yeah. No, no, we're not live. No, I'm sorry. This is recorded.
Oh, okay. I see.
So we'll be we can't edit it and things like that. So this will probably get out in about maybe a week or two.
Okay,
It'll
good.
probably come, yeah. So anyway, I was watching you, watching you play at Smalls or not Smalls. What's the name of the club?
Measure.
Yeah, because it said Smalls on the.
Oh, it could be. I played a Smalls on Sunday night, and I played on Measure last night. So you might have seen both of them, maybe,
Well,
but it wasn't trio at Smalls. It was with a saxophone player called.
yes, that's what I saw with the
Oh, okay.
saxophone
It
player.
was like two guitar. It was two guitars, a saxophone, drum.
No, what I saw was piano. I mean, bass, drums, sax, and you.
Oh, okay. Just quartet.
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
I think so.
Maybe it was from a different time. You know that they have all the
I
live.
don't know. Look pretty. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I go on YouTube and I look and say and um, to see what's happening, and I just watch from there. But at any rate, uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for watching, anyways.
well, yeah, no, I loved it. So tell us about your newest project. What are you doing?
I had a great month because my brother was here, Luigi was here, and we got to play at Birdland Theater for the weekend, and so it was good. They also did a nice live streaming that you can watch of me and my brother.
I saw that.
Oh, you saw
Your
there?
brother plays tenor or
Yeah. Yeah.
alto.
Alto, baritone, bass clarinet. He plays.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. That was pretty phenomenal, actually.
Yeah, it was great. We had a great time. You know, we spent a nice week together. Stayed here in my place, and we played just like when we were kids. You know, we wake up and start playing, and figure out some song we wanted to play all day, and then go to the gig. It was nice, hang out, and
Well, you're so comfortable when you're on stage. I mean, you've got command. We'll talk
It's
about talk
it's
about.
great, me and my brother we played for so long that it's like I don't even have to think about it. My hands. They move. Anything he does, my hands just they move by themselves. You know.
Well, it sounds great. I mean, it really does. You opened up that show with a solo piece that was almost like a classical etude almost. I mean, you had counterpoint and all kinds of things going on. It was just you and the guitar, and then your brother came in on some little fills and things like that, and then all of a sudden the whole piece was coming together. But it was I thought, wow, that's pretty organic, you know. That's beyond rehearsal. You can't really rehearse that. You just have to live that. You know what I'm saying? You
Thank you.
get, you guys have that bond. So so your newest recording is what?
Oh yeah, the new record that came out is not really new because I recorded 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
But of course, it takes some time to get together, everything, and that record was interesting to me because I recorded we were recording the trio record, with Ari and Keith, and we booked 2 days, but we did the recording in the first day, you know. And the second day I said, well, I'm just gonna go there and play some solo guitar. And the producer at the time, Matt Pearson, he suggested, he said, well, you have another day, why don't you just record something solo, even if you don't like it, you know, you have the day, you can just record wherever you want. And yes, I went there and just sat down and I played some solo tunes, and I had fun. You know, I didn't think there was gonna come out like that. That you know, the I liked it, but it was really like very organic, I think, and you can hear from the sound that it's like you know. And I played some nice songs, and I had some fun, and then I listened back. I said, yeah, why not? People like when I play solo, so let's put it out.
Well, you have a way of blending, like, like classical music, classical guitar, and piano. You're talking about Art Tatum as a big influence on you.
Oh yeah, I think you know studying classical guitar really helped me with a lot of different things, especially I would say like the tone of the guitar,
Right.
my right hand technique. You know, as you know, jazz guitar is very interesting to me because it's not a technique that is set. You see all the great guitar player, Charlie Christian. Well, there's not really video of Charlie Christian, but if you see video of Grant Green, Tar Fowler, Barney Castle, Jimmy Rainey, Chuck Wayne, they all had their own way of playing with the right hand and the left hand, you know, because there was not a set thing. And Chuck Wayne was the first guy that I think he was really interested in lute music, in Baroque music, you know, as
Right.
you, as you know, Baroque music is very similar to the music that I like to play, you know, the 40s and 50s, because you know, you have a set of chords and it's improvisation. That's what they used to do. I think that that you know the classical thing helped me a lot with develop more like a sound on the guitar and the technique and but you can't really play the same way when you play jazz, you know. It,
Right.
so it's a little bit mixed. I like the fact that classical guitarists are very obsessed. All of them, they're very obsessed with the clean tone, you know, sound, the way that they articulate, because it's very hard. You know, the classical guitar, you have to play melody, you have to play contrapoint, you have to play the melody, and each finger of your right hand has something different. So you have to have very good ear to play classical guitar, I think, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I spent a little time with it, and just to know enough that I can't play it worth a damn. I mean,
It's hard, yeah, especially when you come from jazz players. They usually they play chord and then they play a single note, but they never put it together. There's
right.
few people that they did it. I mean, you know, if you hear Johnny Smith, if you hear George Van Apps, they played so many things. I was just listening to a George record by himself. And he does everything. You know, you can tell that he played classical, and he plays like the you know, the bass line with the melody on top. Everybody had a different way of hearing jazz guitar. I like that about the and it's nice because if you think about it, everybody was so personal. This is something that bothers me these days with the young guys, that everybody seems to just sound the same to me. You know, they don't have anything particular that I say, oh wow, this is, I never heard this before. I never heard this tone before. Everybody sounds the same to me. And when you think about the music I like, all the guitar players, Barney Castle, you know, Jimmy Rainey, Tar Fowler, all the guys that they play this kind of music, they had such a personal feeling for music that and they all came from the same part, you know. And the same with saxophone player Lester Young, Coleman Hawkins, Ben Webster. They play the same instrument, but they don't really.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because it you can tell. I mean, when Barney's playing or Grant Green is playing something like that, I mean, you know it's them.
Yeah, one note. West
Yeah. you know it's them right away, and yet you make a good point that I think the schools have got a lot to do with that. The curriculum in the schools is very
Yeah, and yes, a lot of things. I think there is so much information these days, you know.
right,
And the thing that for me, I always think about the way I grew up because I grew up in a small town in Italy where there's nothing. I had two records, two, three records, and I think it really helped me to say, okay, I need to develop something from these little things that I have. I had to
right.
create a little bubble. But now, you go on YouTube and you say, how do I put chords and melody together? And there is like literally 50 guys that talk about that, and they might be all wrong. But people go there and they found ideas. And for some reason is good. For in some way is good because people can see different ideas.
Right.
But other way, you never really get to think about how do I want to sound? How do I want to play this song? So there's I don't know. It's a different kind of generation. This period.
And you're only 36 years old, and you're discovering that.
Well, yeah.
But you've been playing since you were 6, so you've been playing for 30 years.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, you are an old dog, if you will. You just happen to be a young guy. You
Yeah.
know. So I was listening. It was interesting. Your technique is well, it's just crazy good. I mean, it's the tempos. I mean, for example, your tempo on in Fervency, which is one of your newer recordings, and Cherokee, for example, is the poor bass player. I have no idea how he makes his fingers move
Oh,
that fast in a
Ari,
jazz.
that's an easy tempo for Ari. Sometimes you have to see him when he has his own gigs. He calls some tempos, man. I don't know how he does it.
It's pretty incredible, but you're playing, your technique, and everybody kind of marvels at the technique, and I mean, we'll talk about we're going to separate the music and the technique for just a minute because it's not about technique, it's about music.
Right.
But the fact is that if you have a certain amount of technique, you can play certain kind of music that maybe people hadn't heard before, or you can go new places. So you just don't miss a note.
People always ask me about my technique. I really don't see anything too good about my technique.
That's because you're you, and we're watching you. We're listening to you
But
play.
one thing that I say that some people, it's easier to play faster. Some people, it's easier to play slow.
Well, I think that's because, if you will, I think it's if you play clean fast, it's not easier, but you can get away with a lot more playing fast than you can slow.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
difference is if you've got a good ear, you can hear the articulation. You're talking about classical. You got a good ear, you can hear the articulation of all of those notes. Each individual note, you can hear it. Whereas, a lot of people, maybe they won't hear that. They just hear the big cadenza slur, if you
yeah.
will.
Yeah,
But
I think guitar, as I said before, there's a lot of different ways of playing. But for some reason, when I was a kid, I had a great teacher first. Agostino Di Giorgio was a student of Chuck Wayne. Chuck Wayne was the first guy that tried to imitate the articulation of a horn player. Because before Chuck, you see all the swing guitar play, they picked everything. Sometimes they did slur, but mostly they were very percussive because of the
right,
instrument. And I think what Chuck was trying to do, it was very smart. He was trying to imitate and Jimmy Rainey, all the guys from the 40s and 50s, and they did it. If you hear Jimmy Rainey, he sounds like a horn player. He doesn't pick everything, he doesn't articulate everything, not because he can't, but
no,
because he's trying to emulate the sound of a trumpet,
yeah,
of a saxophone. And if you hear saxophone, if you hear all the great, Lester Young and Coleman Hawkins and Don Byas, they don't articulate every note, on the horn. And I think that's the sound that I always had because I grew up with a saxophone player, my brother, and I loved Bird and Dees and Bud Powell, and so for me, I hear that, it's not. I always tell all my students. I teach so much. Some year I teach at SUNY Purchase, a new school, and another school called Tribeca Jazz Institute. I said once you start saying, "How do I do it?"
Right.
That's the end.
Right.
Because then it becomes mechanic and it becomes something that is intellectual. You want to know how you do it. Instead, I think for me is everything is in the ear. If you can listen to yourself when you play, you'll find a way. You don't really need to know if you're slurring or if you're picking everything.
Right.
But I think it's in the ear. And that's why I think I can play fast because I don't look at my hand. I don't want to know what I do. I just try to hear it.
Right.
I think it's a good way to get out of the instrument because if you try with the guitar, you're gonna lose, of course.
Right.
Guitar is a hard instrument for that, especially for articulating. If you hear it, I think it comes out. If you try to understand how do you do it, it's the end.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
And also, if you think about the way that those guitar players learn, Charlie Christian, Oscar Moore, they didn't really know what they were doing. They just did it by ear.
Right.
And so I always have that for me. I have to use my ears. I don't wanna think too much, with my mind. How do I do this? It's just the sound for me. I try to focus on the sound, and that's it.
Well, not only that, but you've got a really great harmonic concept. I mean, you move harmony around a lot and all of that. Is that from Barry Harris? Is that where you picked all that up, or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Barry was a big influence for me because I met him when I was 9 years old.
Right.
That was I remember the first time I see him play. I can still feel what he gave me from that. I remember being in Switzerland and he played "I Want to Be Happy" and I was the happiest kid. And Barry had a system. I always like that. Everybody these days talks about the teaching of Barry, right?
Right.
And he was a very good teacher. I think he was the best.
Right.
But for me, it's more the way that he plays, because yeah, and he always would tell his student this. I didn't learn how to play like this. He said I had to make a system for people to understand what I'm doing, but I
Right.
didn't learn this. He said I had one recording of Bud Powell, one recording of Charlie Parker, and I
Right.
played those and I learned everything on the record, from the record.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's been a pet peeve of mine for a long time, is that, people are, they're going by the formula, if you will, rather than by, what moves my heart,
that's right. Yeah.
Um, it's
But of course, his harmonic concept was amazing. It was great, and I learned so much from Barry. The harmony, the way that the harmony moves. And he used to talk a lot about that. And as a musician, I think the harmony, if you especially jazz harmony, it's not that complicated to understand. If you
right.
learn standards, if you hear recording, you hear the chords in a certain way, and I think if you talk about classical music composition, that's very complicated harmony.
Yes, it is.
Even if you hear just Beethoven or the or Chopin, the harmony is so complicated, but it's still there. Jazz is a little easier for me. Even when I used to play classical music, I used to learn the chords of the song because I'm a jazz player.
Yeah.
And I could. It's harder to do that to hear the harmony on a classical song. Well, what chord is this? What chord? What note moves here and what note moves there? But I was always interested in harmony, and I always tried to get better at that, and I was fortunate because I have good ears. I grew up. Since I was a kid, I had good ears. I don't know if I have perfect pitch. I can hear every note, but so I think that's my one of my talent. I think it's just in my ears. I was born with good ears. That's all.
Well, yes, you were. Yeah, yes, you were.
The guitar is just for me just a no. It's just an instrument for me to get out what I want to say,
Right.
and I love it because it's my. I would never feel I would play another instrument, but and people have been asking because I've been changing guitars a lot. It's like, why did you change guitar so much? One day you play this guitar, one day you play this guitar, and I'd say for me they're all the guitars are beautiful. They all have something that they gives me. All those guitar.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to play different instruments. Of course, I play Brian Trainier guitar. I have four of his guitars. So and I feel bad not playing one or the other one, so I have to do 10 days with one, 10 days with the other one.
Otherwise, they get jealous.
They get jealous. Yeah, then when I pick it up after a month, they feel wrong.
Yeah, you haven't played me in a month, and now you're coming back to me? No.
Exactly.
No, you're not doing that. We're not going out tonight. I'm mad at you. Um, so you've been playing a lot with Frank,
Yes, for
Frank
guitar
Vignola.
nights, yeah. And we also have a duo show coming up in Litchfield Jazz Festival.
Really?
Yeah, it's this week, actually, this Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, I love playing with Frank. We know since we played together, we I realized we know so many of the same song. It's hard to find people that you know the same songs. And with Frank, for me, it's like he knows so many songs and he's so experienced in that. I can play wherever I want. I can play some Thelonious Monk with him. I can play Bud Powell. I can play Charlie Parker. I can play Vermont Duke, Cole Porter. And we had a very close friend. And it's a weird thing the way it happens. Frank used to play with my friend bass player Murray Wall. He passed away a few years ago, and I played with him when I got to New York. There was this place called 11th Street Bar, where Richie Clemens on piano, Murray Wall, Taro Okamoto, Charles Davis, and Dwayne Clemens were playing. I used to go there and hear them because it was a great band. And Murray Wall, I always loved his playing. He was Benny Goodman bass player, from Australia. He was a great guy, and really him and Richard Clemens and Taro, they really liked me, and
Right.
because they were around Barry, they were from Barry's class. So I went there all the time, and they were so nice to me, so supportive. I was 19 years old. Back there, me and a few other people, my friend Stefano Doioni, a bass clarinet player, and my brother Luigi, we were the only people that kind of liked the music from the 40s and 50s. Now these days it's a little more in fashion, but when I got to New York, you go to a jam station and you would call ornithology, people will look at you like you're a weirdo. It was not in fashion. It was more like a fusion jazz and modern
Right.
jazz. So it was really a small scene for the traditional music. And I like that this period, the traditional jazz is getting more popular.
Yeah, I think so. I think the the others. The- I mean, I like it all, and I know a lot of these guys that play all of it, but I'm leaning these days towards cleaner guitar tone and
Hmm.
less overdriven, um, less distorted tone, less rock based stuff where you hear the instrument a little bit more, and I think you also hear you hear the fingers a little. I mean, you know, the whole it's a more personal sound to me.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, and I don't know, I could be just out to lunch on this, but well, you talk about an homogeneous tone. It seems like everybody has got that same tone, and
yeah.
and and you know, they're all. I call it athletics and not music. You know, there's a lot of athletic. There's a lot of guitar players out there that are not engaging in music. They're engaging in chop fests and you know, it's just
Unfortunately, guitar is it's a hard instrument, man. If you're not West Montgomery, if you're not Barney Castle, you know that you. It's hard to. And I admire the modern guys, you know, because it's something that I can do. Play in seven. I never done. It's not that I can't do. You know, I never
right.
said. And I admire that. I like to. I prefer sometimes to hear those guys play that hear a guitar player they're just trying to imitate, you know, Peter Bernstein. You know, for me there is one Peter Bernstein, you know,
Yeah.
and there's one Ed Cherry, and there is you know, those guys are my favorite. You know, there's one Frank, there is one Chris Flory. You know, and for me, it's better to hear something different. Oh, this guy is cool. He's doing like something that I never heard. You know, that for me to hear somebody that's trying to copy, you know, Peter or sometimes myself, I see online a lot of people try to imitate the way I play. And the worst part is kind of a joke that they always take the things that I don't like about my playing. Yeah, when I see all these guys try to play
Oh,
what I hate about my playing, then I'm like, wow, why did you get that? You could have get the other side that I like, and now I have to hear that part of myself every day, you know?
oh man, that's that's funny. Well, talk about. I mean, you know, you're talking about players that identify themselves. I mean, Frank and Ed and Peter. You know, I mean, and yourself. You know, you can tell you guys like right away. I mean, you know who's playing. I mean, there's a definite, you know, there's a differentiation there. It's not homogenous at all. So we're talking about earlier about, you know, you knew this player from that player from this player from that player. So I think the guys that are on the scene right now seem to be able, you know, they're very identifiable to me.
Oh man, and it's great. That's why I love New York. You know, I get to see so many great guitar players. You know, like just to see, for example, even Jimmy Bruno. You know,
Oh yeah,
I got to spend a lot of time with him because of Frank. You know, all the
yeah.
guitar camps and being around Jimmy, just to see the way that that guy hits the strings. You know, it's amazing. I never seen anything like that in my life. His sound is so. I never seen him touch the amp. Never.
Yeah.
He plugs in. He has the same sound. You know, that's what it makes you understand. The sound comes from your heart and from your hand, not from the amp. You know, I never seen him touch the amp in my life, and he's got this beautiful tone. You know, and he hits the strings and it's just bounce everywhere. You know, it's beautiful. And the same with Ed Cherry. You know, with Frank. I love doing the guitar night with Frank because you really get to see old New York guitar players. You know, and they're all so great. You know, they're all different from each other, and you watch them and you're like, wow, this is amazing that this guy plays like that. You know.
So the scene in New York right now for you is great. I mean, you're
Well, you know, it's the yes, especially I liked it a little more. It's still great, you know. But when I got to New York, it was really great because there were a lot of people from the other generation that they're here. Barry was here, Hank Jones, Frank West, and Leroy Williams, Clifford Barber, all the guys. They were all there, so you could go see them, you know, and play with them. You know, I used to see one of my favorite band was Dwayne Clemens with Jimmy Warmoth on drums and Sasha Perry on piano and Murray Wall on bass. And they have so many great bands, you know, and Peter's band with Larry Goldings and Bill Stewart, you know. All those band. And I used to see Harold Mayburn. I used to play solo guitar before Harold Mayburn at Ezra, and he would always come and sit right in front of me, you know. And he would stay there the whole time I play solo. You know, he was listening to me. It was great. And I used to go to Frank West's house, you know, and he was in his I guess in his late 80s, and all he wanted to do is play song after song, after song after song, you know. So you get to New York is such a great place to experience music, you know. It's the only place for me. It's the best place because I come from a country where jazz is very. They love jazz in Italy, but there's no opportunity to see musician every night, to play with other people every day, you know. And that's a little part of the world like that. New York is the only place where you can be a professional musician, you know, playing, you know, gigs and having fun with music. Just be around in a bubble a little bit, you know, because you can be in your own bubble here in New York and say, hey, I just want to be a musician. I want to do this. I want to try to improve myself. And sometimes it's weird because you past 20 years, so you say musician doing the same thing here, you know. So
I've had several friends who moved to New York, were up there for a few years trying to make it, and they just couldn't get there. So if you know, what did Frank Sinatra say? You know, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I
yeah,
mean that's really true. You know, you have done extremely well, as you know, in New York, and you're highly thought of everywhere you go as like one of the top guys in the world right now playing this style.
I appreciate that.
And you know, and you're in demand, and people come to your shows, and they buy your music, they take lessons from you. You're hired at the universities. I mean, Pasquale, I got to tell you, hands.
Well, I'm glad that you know, I get to that people like what I do, and I think it's nice that jazz guitar is improving, you know, and is people are going back to the tradition, try to understand how this music works, you know, because we need that, you know, and especially we need young people to be interested in the music, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to go over a couple of things here while we wrap this up. So
Yeah,
you've got 14 projects as leader.
yeah,
All right, and the most current are Fervency and Solo Bebop, which
yeah.
you did them back to back, one day after the next, I guess, from what you're letting us know that. You've got ballads. If people want to hear that, you got Pure Bebop. You know, Bud Powell, standards, solo monk, solo You got a lot of solo recording.
Yeah, well, that was a project back 10 years ago because I used to play a lot of solo gigs, you know,
Yeah.
in New York, and I really I always liked to enjoy playing solo guitar. These days, not I always enjoy playing, but most of gigs are in trio now.
Well,
People,
you know, it's you know it it appeals being able to you know
yeah, and also I always every show that I do, I play a couple tunes solo. You know,
right. I was going to say you can always add that in, but you know what did I can't remember the organ player, was it Dr. Lonnie Smith, that said if you look out in the audience and they're not doing this, you're probably not doing it right, you know. And you know, I mean that's why bebop and swing and all of that is you know it's I love great solo guitar, but I also love you know, guitar trio. I really like guitar trio, and I like guitar, bass, and drums. I'd rather hear that than organ and guitar, even though I like that too. Don't get me wrong,
yeah,
because
me too. I never get to do it too much, but
yeah,
I like the organ.
but I like the guitar and the guitar, bass, and drum thing because it forces that conversation between the bass and the guitar. If you know what I'm saying, more so than the organ. Um, but you know, I really love what you're doing, and I noticed that when you know one gig you started off, you know, like like that, and then the next gig you started off with a ballad, with a slow solo piece, and I'm going, well, he's having fun.
Oh, definitely, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's having fun. Well, I think that's about it for me. I appreciate your time today.
It was always great to talk to
Where are
you.
you headed to?
Oh, I'm going to Japan to play at the Blue Note at the end of August, and I have the duo with Frank in Litchfield this week.
Yeah,
We have the camp, the guitar camp,
yeah.
first week of August. So it's busy, it's busy.
I I love it for you. I really do. Congratulations. I think it's
Maybe
absolutely wonderful what you.
to relax with my girlfriend in at the beach or somewhere, and eat some pasta, drink some wine, and life is good.
It sounds good to me. Well, I appreciate you, Pasquale. I really do. You're a great musician, a really great guy,
Yeah.
uh, and I really appreciate your music. It's it's well, you are a guy that it's you playing like that. I mean, you got it right. You got it going right there. So, if you like this kind of programming, these kind of conversations, please like, share, follow, subscribe, and do all those things. Check out Pasquale's music again. The newest record is Fervency, and there's two actually. The other one's Solo Bebop, and I've listened to both of them. You cannot go wrong. It's
Thank
really good stuff. And my hat's off to you, my friend. Bob Bakert with Pasquale Grasso. Say hello to Frank for me
Yes, I will.
for
Thank you.
jazz guitar today. So long, everybody.
Ciao.